There's a lot of uncertainty right now, and a lot of parents are wondering what it means for their child's education. I want to bring in David DeMatthews to provide some context here. David's a professor of educational leadership and policy at UT Austin. So, David, let's dive into this. What are the likely short-term impacts on students and teachers if the state were to intervene in Fort Worth ISD?
Sure. So it would depend on how exactly the state would intervene, but I'd say already there's a great deal of pressure on the superintendent, on the board, on principals and teachers right now, just given this looming takeover and what we've seen in other districts like Houston ISD that has been recently taken over, where there's been a great deal of turmoil. And so I think everybody right now in Fort Worth ISD is really just thinking about how they can stop a takeover from happening and work with TEA to avoid that.
Yeah, you mentioned, it's been a couple years now since the state took over Houston ISD. What do we learn from that in terms of the turmoil you mentioned and perhaps some positive benefits as well?
Sure. So a few things that we've seen happen in Houston ISD is a great deal of turmoil in terms of the board being replaced, a new superintendent being appointed with a checkered background. There has been some investments changing in teacher pay, performance pay, but also a very narrow scripted curriculum. There's also been evidence that the district has been pushing students to not take certain STAR exams during certain years so they can get those scores up. And so there's been a lot of mixed results, a lot of tension there. It's something that I think Fort Worth would want to avoid at all costs, because while it's clear that the school at hand in Fort Worth ISD has been struggling, there's no evidence that state takeovers work, and they often destabilize school districts even more.
We mentioned how the district tacking on nearly a month of additional class days. How will teachers use that time to address some of the most common challenges?
Sure. So adding school days to the school year can be great, but the devil's in the details, like a lot of things. And so teachers need to be really well planned. They need thoughtful tutoring, thoughtful interventions, engaging curriculum. If it's more of the same thing that's not working, if a lot of the teachers are struggling, if a lot of them are novice teachers, which is often the case in struggling campuses, then maybe not as much is going to come out of this as one would hope for that sort of investment. But if there's good planning, if there's good support, if teachers aren't burned out after a long school year, then there's an opportunity here to help students. And one of the things we know from research is that summer, particularly for low-income students who may miss out on some summer learning activities, the summer's a time where there's some regression. And so having a longer school year allows them not to kind of fall behind during that summer session, and then they can start that school year the next year right on track and kind of pick up right where they left off.
Yeah, you'd hate to see the kids wasting weeks, maybe months, trying to catch up with what to what they how they left the last school year. Professor David DeMatthews from UT Austin, thank you so much for your time.